Hello, welcome to Backstory with Joan Goldstein. I'm Joan Goldstein, and my guest today is a really wonderfully interesting person, and we're going to meet her. And her name is Myra Weiner, and Dr. Myra Weiner is a scientist and an author, and we'll find out more about that. But the real focus of our talk today is that senior citizens find love even in the time of the pandemic. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay, Myra, you were on my show, 2 years ago, was it? Yes, and that time we talked about the book you had written. She had written a book about her life and the poison tree, wasn't it?
Yes, just for background, it was Uprooting the
Poison
Poison Tree.
Yes, and it was about her leaving her marriage, her finding someone to love in her life, her marriage to this very nice person, and then she became a widow about a year ago, right?
Correct.
And since then, she's been searching for love, correct?
Yes, it's lonely being alone, and especially in the pandemic when we're restricted in who we can see and where we can go. Just for a little more information, I had been married to my first husband for 25 years, and that ended in a divorce. And then I was single for 9 years before I met my second husband, Irv. We got married in 2004. And sadly, he passed from COVID 1 year ago. And the 3 years leading up to his demise were also difficult. Part of that time was in the pandemic, and I was the sole caretaker in my home. So after he passed, it was very quiet in the house. And a few months into that, I started to consider dating online. And wasn't very successful. For any of those of you who may consider that, there are many sites for seniors that are on internet, specifically for singles dating. And there are lots of people out there, men and women. Some of the sites you've probably heard of, like Match, JDate, which is for Jewish people, Zooks, which is for all ages, and Silver Singles, which is for seniors. Then I tried all four, went out on a few dates, but never second dates from anyone I met on. So it's a bit discouraging. A few months later, a friend of mine here in Princeton suggested that I try a matchmaking service. It's called New Jersey Singles. And conveniently, they had an office in New Jersey. So I went for an interview. They screened me like they screen all people in the service once you join, and said I was acceptable and I could purchase several matches. And I decided to go that route. I'm only dating people of the same religion, so that restricts me in one way. I'm also looking for an educated match because I have a doctorate and have had a full career in the sciences, and would like someone with, doesn't have to be a doctorate, but someone who's intelligent. So those were some of the things I was looking for, plus character. And the first person they suggested was inappropriate for me. He was not religiously involved as much as I was looking for. So that one didn't count. I didn't actually meet him in person. And then I met the second person who did seem appropriate for me. And we started dating. And it's now, I guess, about 4 months or 4 to 5 months that we've been seeing each other. And I have to say, it's made me much happier. I'm enjoying a new relationship with this person and have someone to go out with, to spend time with, get to know. So that's sort of a brief description of what I have been working on, finding love as a senior during the pandemic. Of course, everyone that I talk to and meet for a potential date has to have been vaccinated. If you go to a concert or a play these days, it's just opening now, you must bring your vaccination card, photo ID, and a mask. So those are all requirements for dating today.
Well, you know, what's so interesting is that when Myra told me what she was doing, I said, oh, show me how to do it. So she did. And she knew what to do. You had to take a picture of you and send it in, and with some comments about what you were looking for. And I got lots of men contacting me. I was very much surprised, and I did meet someone who I feel now that we are beginning to be a couple. So apparently this is a new thing in our world. And just today, Sunday, the New York Times had a opinion piece by a woman named Catherine Esty, where she talks about living my life again. And what she points out is that she wanted to find someone to love. That was part of her desire, and she does find someone. And she says, living into your 80s was not very common until relatively recently, but today people my age are doing all sorts of things: hiking the Appalachian Trail, falling in love, writing poetry, and so forth. And she says, being in your 80s doesn't mean you have to focus on survival. It is a time to enjoy a full life, and that's what I'm really doing. So, you know, this is something that we can all understand, we can all recognize, that we realize that we're still here. And even though the COVID is in itself threatening to so many people, and the possibilities of people becoming ill from it, certainly there's more than 750,000 Americans who've been killed by the virus. And so it's not something that's gone away. But what's important is that we understand that we have a need to love and a need to be loved. And that the way to make this happen is to seek someone who also wants what you want. And that's the search. And, you know, what's interesting is I find that several of the men who contacted me were all widowers. In other words, they were people who were married sometimes a very long time, and their wives had passed away, but they still wanted the companionship of a woman. And that's who's out there. And there's lots of us. And therefore, you know, try to understand that life goes on. Life can go on. And we have to believe in it. And that's what Myra is doing. And that's what perhaps others are doing as well. What do you think, Myra?
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Joan. And that brings to mind a couple of things that my new boyfriend said to me that helped me sort of get off the dime and say, yeah, let's give this a try. He said, life is not a dress rehearsal. And I love that because it's so true. This is our opportunity right now. We're not planning for some big event, especially as seniors, in the challenging times that we live in. Let's live now. And that helped me say, okay, I'm going to give this guy a try. And the other thing he said is that you never lose your capacity to love. And I like that too, because I hadn't thought of it that way. And it's true, just like learning, you can always learn more, you can always love more. So I consider myself fortunate and happy to have met this person. And we're just enjoying each day as it comes. And that's the time we're in now. It's living life to the fullest. So I agree with you, Joan. It's not, I don't think about my age at all in this situation. It's not a barrier. And of course, it's important to take care of your health and not to put yourself in risky situations or take risks like not wearing a mask in a crowded auditorium, something like that. But it's about enjoying the time you have to the fullest.
Well stated, Myra, very well stated, yes. And maybe this gives hope to other people. I mean, some of my neighbors, where I live in community housing, so they do see that my friend pulls up in his car and contacts me, and I come downstairs and we greet each other, and they're all watching and smiling, and everybody smiles. There's something about people finding love in a time like this that makes people happy, encourages other people possibly. I just talked to a woman downstairs today. She's originally from Russia. I've known her many years. We were neighbors a long time ago. And I sort of told her the same thing. And, you can find someone. There's always someone who wants a companion. And we can use the word companion. The fact is that it's fun to be with someone. My friend takes me out for brunches. We go to different restaurants. In the nice weather, we sat outdoors in the sunshine, and I really enjoyed that. He also has a wonderful family who have all been very kind and very nice to me. They're so happy that I'm making him happy, that they're being good to me. And that's something I didn't have, because most of the family I did have is long past. And so I was very much alone. And this has made me feel so much more connected. And connected is the key word, isn't it, Myra?
Yes, and I agree with everything that you've said. I just want to make a small comparison. Since I dated after my first marriage ended, and I was in my mid-50s, now it's 20 plus years later, and it's different. Maybe I've gained a little more wisdom, I don't know, but it took me a very long time to figure out if somebody was right for me or not at that time. And those multiple stories are summarized in my book, Uprooting the Poison Tree. There's a whole chapter on those stories. But now I just find it much easier to get to know people. And maybe I have a little more common sense about that. And it's been very smooth going. I want to say to the audience, don't get discouraged. It could take a couple of different people before you meet someone that you really want to spend time with. But that's all good experience for you in finding out and understanding what you do like and don't like about different personalities. And I did some of that experimenting when I was in my 50s. So I kind of know now the type of personality that I enjoy being with. So don't be discouraged. It might take a while, but the effort's well worth it, because once you find that person, you have a lot to share together.
Yes, and you can look forward saying, okay, I know this week I'm going to go out for brunch or lunch with, and I do use the term boyfriend, which seems to me goes back to my teenage years with my boyfriend, and that it's something that I can look forward to. And apparently he does as well. And so I think we as human beings understand that what makes us human is being with other human beings. And we can't, the isolation, the loneliness that has come about, particularly as a result of the pandemic, has harmed many people. And for them to come up and come out, reach out for friendship, reach out for kindness, and reach out to be a friend to other people. You have to kind of do it with more consciousness and more caring than maybe you were doing it in the past. But definitely it helps. And that's something we need to understand. We are living in difficult and different times. And I, as the sociologist, know this to be the case because that's what I study all the time. And I can see it even because I still do teach a college sociology course. And I can see it in the students. I can see what's happening to them. And I'm trying to help them to understand what human connections are so that their lives will not be so harmed or saddened by being isolated. So what do you think, Myra? You've offered some very good suggestions to people. Keep trying, don't give up. Know that not everyone is going to be the right person for you, but don't give up.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Is there anything else we could share?
I would say give people a chance. You can't tell always in one meeting where people are a bit nervous, perhaps, and anxious to make a good impression. Give them a second chance, go out again, or a third time if necessary, before you make up your mind. Learn about their background, some of their views, maybe politics. That can be a hot button item that can cause a lot of friction, as I've heard from some of my friends. And that led them to disregard certain dates that they had met. So I would say be honest, be yourself, and relax and just get to know each other and give them a chance. And, it takes 3, maybe more dates to see if this is someone that you want to spend more time with. And then you figure out a schedule of when you're available, when the other person's available. And slowly you realize, hey, I really like this person. Maybe love is starting. We'll see. It takes time for love to happen, at least for me. So that's an investment in your time that hopefully you're willing to make if you want the result of having a new person in your life.
And we thought this was all over with way back when we were teenagers. We had no idea that we were going back to this at this point in life. But this is interesting because it says we say to ourselves, your life never ends. Keep going, keep finding your way, keep making connections, because as long as you're here, be here. As long as you're here, enjoy being here. And that's something that you and I, Myra, have certainly done our own explorations with. And that's why I thought it would be wonderful if we could talk about this today.
Thank you. Thanks. It's been great. I appreciate this opportunity and encourage others in similar situations, whether it's being a widow, widower, divorcee, or single and never married. It's never too late to enjoy life and be in a relationship.
Thank you so much, Myra Weiner, for joining me today on Backstory with Joan Goldstein. And I want to say, I wish everyone the best and goodbye.